If you've been in the art community for a long time, then I'm sure you're at least somewhat familiar with original species. From open species like mochiraptors and protogens to closed species like cynodogs and chimerians. I really want a chimerian, by the way. Admittedly, some species are more unique than others, but I remember this being a pretty hot topic back in the day. Unfortunately, I don't see as many original species around anymore. Like, they're still there, it's just much less of a big thing than it used to be. Well, I'm changing that right now. Hello freaks and geeks, my name is Priya, aka Witchigo. I am the creator of the original species Mukis. These funky little guys are the main species in the show I'm working on called Alanthum Academy. To know more about that show, please subscribe. I'm working on a bunch of videos about it, and hopefully some short animated clips to get people hyped, but we'll see how that goes. Mukis are a completely open species, and today I'm going to explain what they are, how to make one, and also just some miscellaneous world building. To start, what is a Muki? Mukis are aliens from the planet Arisia. Arisia is a planet within a solar system far away from ours. However, in the universe of Alanthum Academy, space travel has been commercialized. This has led to a lot of cross-integration of cultures between planets. Basically, in layman's terms, Mukis can live on Earth and humans can live on Arisia. Arisia is what's known as a dependent planet. This is a class of planet that does not have the natural properties to sustain life in the way that Earth does. Instead, all of the life on the planet is sustained through the runestone, which is at the planet's core. This runestone not only gives everything on the planet life, but also gives Mukis the ability to use magic through their runes. Every Muki has a runic symbol on their body. A rune is a shape somewhere on a Muki's body, and this can be literally anywhere. For example, my character Exie has a rune directly in her eye, as an example of how out there they can get. Every rune looks different, it's like a fingerprint. Sometimes runes will reflect something about the character, but it certainly doesn't have to, they can also just be random shapes. Jinx's rune is the spiral pattern on his cheeks, which symbolizes his zany and kind of crazy personality, along with the fact that spirals kind of indicate being brainwashed. Tantalus's rune is supposed to kind of look like an eye, and Aveline has a heart because she's in love with her girlfriend. A rune is black when dormant, but glows the same color as a Muki's eyes when they are using magic. Additionally, the Muki's eyes and hands will glow. On screen now is the guide for pure Mukis. This is kind of the default Muki, the boring ones. They are categorized by their long pointy ears, and they commonly have what are essentially antlers, a feature that no other Muki can have. You know, I gotta give these guys something special. Pure Mukis are kind of boring. Pure Mukis are typically slightly taller than the average person, but not by much. They are the most common species by far. They have between 1 to 3 eyes, either 2 or 4 arms. Important note, Mukis can be half human. If a Muki is half human, they will have shorter ears than a pure Muki. Also, they cannot have any features of other Muki subspecies. They are limited only to pure Muki traits. For example, Alanthum Academy's main character, Atticus, is half human. I've mentioned how all Mukis have magic and this magic comes from their runestone, but how does their magic work exactly? Well, an important thing to note is that at the time that my story takes place, learning of spells on Arisia is completely illegal, and only something that specific Mukis can do. Mukis that work for Cythera and Mukis that attend Alanthum Academy. This doesn't mean the average Muki can't use magic at all, but the only magic they can use is limited to their proficiency. A proficiency is a type of magic that a Muki just has a certain knack for. It's something they don't have to learn, they just have the natural ability to do it. What a proficiency is can be quite broad, so here are some examples. Atticus has a music proficiency. He can manipulate sound waves to use attacks, he owns a guitar which he can transform into other instruments. Aveline has a proficiency for enchantment. She can instill an object with certain properties. Examples are her shoes, which she enchanted to allow herself to fly. Also, Xavier, her girlfriend's glasses, were enchanted to allow her to transform. Tristan has a poison proficiency, Felicity has a weapons proficiency, she can summon weapons at will and transform them, etc, etc. Because what a proficiency can be is so broad, feel free to ask any clarifying questions. There isn't really much of a limit outside of it can't be overpowered. Also, traveling between other dimensions is something that's limited to only one character, so you can't do that. Anyway, now that that's done, let's introduce the next subspecies. These are Terranean Mukis. They come from harsh and drier environments and are typically quite strong. They have fluffy pointed ears, horns, and fangs. They are the strongest Muki, but the weakest in terms of magic. Also, important note, Terranean Mukis are naturally quite bulky. Often they have more muscular or chubby bodies. This isn't always the case, but it usually is. They need some sort of consolation for how pathetic their magic is. Often these guys live in burrows or hollowed out caves. Next, we have essentially the opposite in Sylvestri Mukis. These are my personal favourite. Sylvestri Mukis are the rarest Muki found in areas with a high concentration of magic, such as near Arisia's crater. Basically, this is a giant hole, sort of volcano, where magic seeps out from the runestone. Because of this, the surrounding area is very instilled with magic and a lot of weird stuff happens there. This location is very close to the castle where Arisia's ruler lives along with her army. More details about that in another video coming up. Sylvestri Mukis live within nature. They are very connected to their planet to the point where crystals and plants are known to sometimes grow out of their bodies. That flower in Zizi's hair, not just a cute accessory, that's also a part of her. Also, Sylvestrian homes are basically hanging plants that look like flower buds. Think of the houses from Trolls. I still need to do some concept art. Guys, developing a cartoon show is hard, I'm trying my best. Because of how much magic Sylvestri Mukis have, they have evolved certain anomalies. For example, every other Muki has had a limit on the amount of eyes they can have. Sylvestri Mukis have basically no limit. Cover them in as many eyes as you want and they can be anywhere. Similarly, they can have mouths anywhere, no mouths, multiple mouths, yada yada. They can have up to 6 arms, and they also sometimes have these strange antennae or tails with eyes or mouths attached. Although this is rare because antennae are kind of a phenocyte thing. That's another species, I'll discuss them in another video. Sylvestri Mukis are bizarre. I wanted to portray the idea that the amount of magic they have has caused them to kind of mutate in strange ways. However, they are physically quite weak and often quite small. However, they can also be massively tall. It's kind of one or the other, there isn't much of a middle ground. And last but not least, we have Aquatic Mukis, the mermaids of the Alanthum verse. Pretty self-explanatory. These Mukis live underwater in Arisia's largest sector. They have giant fishy tails, which can vary in design. They have fins, gills, webbed feet and hands, and scales. Aquatic Mukis sometimes have other aquatic features like lanterns, tentacles, jellyfish bits. I don't know how to phrase that. Aquatic Mukis are also often pretty pale because they live underwater and don't get much light. These guys are also the most fashionable Mukis and the richest. The aquatic sector on Arisia is a major distributor of resources and earn a lot of money for magical artifacts and spells that grant other Mukis and other aliens the ability to breathe underwater. Aquatic Mukis are the only species that can breathe underwater, so they've kind of commercialized that ability because capitalism. Fun fact, I ran a poll and aquatic Mukis seem to be most of your favorites. I know I said this was the final one, but I lied. A lot of you have been creating your own Mukis, which means the damn world to me, and I love seeing all of your creativity. But one person in particular asked if they could make their own entire subspecies. Obviously, I said yes. So, introducing Mukis. Guys, I cannot express how insane this is to me. Someone was interested enough in my dumb passion project to make their own subspecies. Gushing aside, let's discuss them. They are called Mukis. Adorable name, by the way, and they live in Arisia's icy climates. Their main features are fur covering their bodies, fluffy tails, horns which reflect the Muki's age based on the amount of rings that they have, and they commonly have albinism or vitiligo. Also, their ears are long/medium and point downwards. They're quite strong, great at blending into their surroundings, and often wrap themselves up in their tails when they sleep. Quote, "They look like a Muki burrito." Guys, I can't, that's so cute! Thank you so much, Skittles. Their Instagram will be linked in the description. Please go check them out. Fun fact, Skittles didn't know this when designing Mukis, but there is an Antarctic sector on Arisia that has some pretty big plot relevance. I can't go into it much, but basically the gist of it is the area is kind of used as a jail. So it's kind of a pretty fun coincidence that they went and made some fellas that fit into that area really well. And now, I promise, that's the final one. at least for now. But don't go just yet. Firstly, a lot of you have created your own Mukis. I will be drawing them in a video once I get the time. I am truly so blessed that I have people actually engaging in my project in this way. Thank you all. All these amazing artists will be linked in the description. If you make your own Muki, make sure you tag me and use the hashtag #Alanthemacademy. Also comment because sometimes I can't find them. Finally, if Alanthem Academy sounds at all interesting to you and you'd like to support it, please consider checking out my Patreon. I have some cool rewards there. Also, my commission details will be in the description. If you can't do any of that, just liking, subscribing, and sharing is so greatly appreciated, and I love you for any even shred of support that you can give me. Thank you all for listening to my ramblings.